authenticity has been turned into a product. Design software lets you slap on vintage film grain like digital confetti, while AI-generated handwriting mimics the soul of a letter never written. Wang observed that printed media evolved to include images meant to preserve accuracy. Yet here we are using them not for truth, but for affectation. We no longer need real artifacts. We just want their emotional residue. The paradox is clear: authenticity exists only as a simulation. When we scroll through curated feeds of real memories, or buy furniture that looks old because it's been chemically aged in a factory, we accept a fake as real precisely because the fake has all the signs. Benjamin said reproduction destroys aura, but we've learned to love the reproduction more than the original.
Early computing was not merely about machines, it was about redefining human potential through logic and automation.
In 1986, a new software tool called MIDI humanization emerged as musicians tried to fix what they saw as a flaw in electronic music: its cold precision. The idea was simple: if machines played with perfect timing and pitch, the result felt dead. So engineers added jitter, tiny randomized pauses, and tempo shifts, trying to mimic the slight unpredictability of live performance. What we hear is not authenticity. It's an aesthetic solution to a psychological problem. The machine needed souls, as the footage shows engineers in stereo labs trying to make code feel more human. You see a pattern emerge. The same anxiety is present here as it was with musicians. How do we bridge the gap between machine logic and emotional resonance? What we hear on the tracks of 1986 wasn't just music. It was an experiment in perception. If enough people believed the jitter meant warmth, then technically speaking, it worked. Enter Chris Potter and his theory of memetics. He argued we don't need true emotions. We just need to perceive it. In the late 80s, that idea was radical. But today it's standard practice in digital media: simulate feeling through texture. A worn font, a retro filter, or a synth with a vintage preset. Each is an attempt to make us believe something real once existed there before us. What we call authenticity is just the illusion of history.
We have a new human being, and that's Chris Potter of Memetics Corporation, a new synthesizer, the Yamaha DX100, and a new computer, the Commodore Amiga.
Barthes argued that photographs capture that. Has been an illogical fusion of here, now and there, then. But in a digital world, what hasn't been can be made to look like it was. AI generated images with vintage filters promise authenticity through mimicry alone. The past is no longer something we remember. It's something we render in pixels. This illusion trades memory for mood, experience for effect. We scroll through algorithmic recollections of lives we never lived, as if they were our own. Neil Postman warned that technology doesn't just shape how we live, it redefines what it means to think. Now, authenticity is no longer earned through lived experience, but manufactured through design choices. We don't debate truth anymore, we debate texture. The past becomes a stylistic option rather than an emotional anchor. We've turned memory into a product and nostalgia into a feature set. Even when we try to hold on to history, it slips through our fingers. What was once this is how it was, has become this is how it could have been. The nostalgia mode doesn't mourn the past. It erases its complexity in favor of a stylized echo. We lose the ability to distinguish between memory and simulation because both are curated by the same machine. We used to crave authenticity because we feared losing it. Now we manufacture it, down to the patina of a retro synth or the grain in a restored photo. What was once the accidental residue of time has become a product. We buy vintage filters and handmade textures as if they could be bottled like nostalgia itself. But here's the catch. When every surface is curated, what does that make our own memories, our actual pasts? To prayer, the alternative is penicillin. To family roots, the alternative is mobility. But now, even those alternatives are curated. We no longer just choose where we live or how we pray. We also select a lifestyle aesthetic that makes our displacement feel like belonging. Illinois lawmakers try to regulate AI in public life as if authenticity can still be legislated. Yet, when realness becomes a product, the law only gives it more legitimacy. The machine didn't just mimic us, it became one. And so we reach a strange threshold. What if our emotional attachments begin to outgrow memory itself? What if manufactured nostalgia becomes the baseline for how we feel about anything real? The final irony is not that machines are learning humanity, but that we may soon trust their simulations more than our own lived experiences. In which case, the question isn't whether AI can mimic us, it's whether it will become better at feeling than we ever were.